Okay, and we're comp 100, and it's lesson 5, week 5, part 3. We got long parts here, big long stuff, right? All right, so we looked at this, the if statement. This is our pseudocode. This is our flow chart. Our flow chart says, hey, if number is less than 5, if it's true, then write C. If it's false, then exit. And also write D. So if I go write C and write D, I do that within this code block, right? The code block is between these two curly braces, right? This is good. This is bad, right? This would work, right? Because if starting at the if statement and ending at the semicolon, this is okay. And sometimes you'll see code written like this. Guys, I never want to see code like this from you ever in your life. Ever. Always use curly braces, even if you only have one statement after the if statement. Why? Because if I add a second statement thinking that it's in a code block, you'll do the first, but you won't do the second. An example of that would be here. I've got this age is less than or equal to 10. Let's take away the curly braces, right? So I can do that. This will run. This will actually work if I do this. Watch. In the old days of programming, this was acceptable. It's not acceptable today. Why? Two things. If I want to add something to this code block, if age is less than or equal to 10, I want to do more than one thing, not just say you're young, but something else, right? And I do one of these, and then I add another console statement like this, right? Thinking that my indentation, because it's just my formatting, is correct. Oh yeah, I want to say oh yeah, and I want to put this as part of my my code block. You know what's going to happen? In your mind, you say, well, this is part of this if statement, right? So I've kind of tabbed it in. You think this is part of the if statement. Really what's happening is this is the if statement. You don't have a code block, so this will be conditional, but this oh yeah will always run. Always, no matter what I do. It'll always run. Let's show you that. My age is 100, right? Oh yeah, you're getting old, right? Yeah, watch.
So what would happen? So if you put right, it would...
1, oh yeah, you're so young. Oh yeah, the world is your oyster. You know why? Because I'm thinking this is part of this code block, but there's no code block because I've forgotten to put these braces. These braces, I'm just going to take this out here. Put it between the braces, which is what you should do, right? This is how it should look. And now the only time this is going to show you're young and oh yeah is when someone's less than 10. Here's another problem. I'm saying if I'm less than 40, right, you're getting old, right? If I'm greater than or equal to 40, I'm getting old, right? But what if I'm less than 30, right, I want to say the world is your oyster. But if I'm less than 10, right, if I'm less than 10, which is also true if I'm less than 30, then I want to say, oh, you're so young, and oh yeah. Can I do this? And I can. It's called a nested if statement. One if statement is nested inside of another one. If my age is less than 30, this condition is true, if I'm 10. So I'm going to say the world is your oyster because it's true. I'm less than 30. So the world is my oyster, right? And you know what? I'm also less than 10. So you're so young. Oh yeah, right? This, of course, would skip because I'm not less than 40. I'm greater than or equal to 40. I can't be both this and this because it wouldn't make sense. Because this condition would say it's true, but this condition would come out to be false. We say we resolve the condition. Well, this would resolve to true, and this would resolve to false. But this also has a condition that's nested within it when I'm less than 10.
How do you put like a range? Let's say if your age is from 10 to 29.
I like your thinking, right? And we can do that with compound statements. We're going to go into that in a second, right? But first I want to do these nested. This is almost exactly like doing what you said, right? if my age is less than or equal to 30 and my age is less than or equal to 10, then show this stuff. That's the only time this is going to show up. If my age is less than or equal to 30. If my age is less than, is 31, it'll skip this whole thing. Which it should, because if it's less than 31, then this is also true. Right? So if it's greater than 30, then this condition also fails. Right? Let's try this out. So just a different way of writing. So my age is 31. Nothing happens. Right? Why? Because from 31 to 40, there's nothing that captures that. Right? Nothing that captures the age between 31 and 40. I got to make another thing that says, you know, if, I'll say else if, here's another the way we can do it, else if age, right, is greater than 30, watch this, greater than 30, which is also true, right, then I can say, instead of you're getting old, I can say after 30, no, you're greater than 30 though, right? I mean, you can be 100, right? You've got less choices, right? Let's say this, you got less choices, right? Because you're over 30, let's say. Well, how about this? You're not as pretty. How about them? Like this, right? You're not as pretty, because you're pretty when you're young, right? When you're over 30, not as pretty anymore. Okay, this is cool. Your age is greater than 30, you're not as pretty. Let's try this out. So, but it's only the greater than, not greater than or equal to. So if I put 31, that would fire. You're not as pretty, right? Here's one thing that would happen too, though. Take a look. If I run this again, and I put 40, right? You're not as pretty, and you're getting old. So then, if that's what I want to do, if I say anyone who's over 30 is not as pretty, and when you're over 40, greater than or equal to 40, you're getting old, I can simply say, well, those both conditions can kind of work together, right? So I can put that in this. Does that make sense that those things would work out? So these are two nested if statements. Here's a nested if statement, and this is an else if statement. And then I can put a default, right? So if you don't answer something like less than 30 or greater than 40, right? Let's say you answer something else, right? You can simply say something like this. Because the only way it can be anything else if you put a negative number, right? Incorrect input, right? Or error. Incorrect input. Because there's no way you should be, these two conditions, less than or equal to 30 and greater than 30, both those two things are conditions, will cover the whole spectrum, right, of numbers. Less than 30, right? Less than or equal to 30 actually will do even less than 0. And here, something else happened, right? Where I enter some weird output. Now, it'll never get to this else, ever, right? Unless I do something like this. So if I say less than or equal to 20, right, as an example, and anything else that's less than that, less than or equal to 20 covers this. But if I go between 20 and 30, then some kind of error. I could do that too. If you notice the conditional statements, the way they work, it only fires, they're only true, right, when the comparison that I'm making is true. That's the only time that it'll commit this block. Let's go back to this though, this example, right? So I'm less than 30. I'm less than 30, and I'm greater than 30, right? And I'm greater than, I'll say greater than or equal to 30, but I'm greater than or equal to 40, both these things will fire. If I'm less than 30, this will fire. And you know what? Even if I go negative, it'll fire. Because less than 30 is -1, is less than 30, right? But what if I want to check if age, else if age is less than 0, right? If age is less than 0, right, then it's incorrect. Actually, if age is less than 1, it's incorrect. Because if you're 0, you're not born yet, right? Officially. Actually, if you're less than 1 is okay. But if it's less than 0, so you're right, less than 0, you could be a baby, a few months old. You're not 1 year old, right? But if you're less than 0, you can't be less than 0 because you're in the belly. Yeah.
But if you said less than 30, so it could be less than 0.
It could be, right? But look this. I'm going to do if this will be true, so this will fire, and if it'll be if I say if it's greater than 1, right? I can do it the other way around. This is the condition. See, we have to figure out when I do conditional statements. If I want to say without using any kind of compound statements here, compound statements will give me more specificity. Right now, we're just doing it so that anything that's between 0 and 30. If I want to say between 0 and 30, right, or between anything that's greater than 0, I could re-specify. I could say, well, if it's greater than 0, I know that this fires, right? If it's greater than 0, if I'm less than 10, right, then I do this, right? Hold on a second. I'll move this statement out, right? And if it's less than, if age is less than 30, right, I can do this one. This would work too, right? I'm going to do this, right? So if age is greater than 0, that all this will fire. Hold on a second. If age is greater than 30, right? So less than 30, here's greater than 0, right? I can also put this stuff if statement. If I say I'm greater than 30, right? Here I'm greater than 30 now. So here's I'm less than 30. Here I'm greater than or equal to 30. I'll keep the equal sign in there. I'm getting pretty old, right? You're not as pretty. And you know what? If I'm greater than or equal to 40, I'm getting old. But I can put all this, right, inside here, right? Why? Because I'm testing to see if age is greater than 0. Because that's the major thing.
That looks neater like that.
Hold on, sure, it looks neater. And then else, anything else where age is less than 0, right? I'm going to have an error because there's no way I can be less than 0. Right? So age is greater than 0. Here's my less. Now this nested if statement will fire. Right? If I'm less than 10, it'll do this. If I'm also less than 30, it'll do this. If I'm greater than equal to 30, I'll do this. And if I'm greater than or equal to 40, I'll do this. But only this will fire if my age is greater than 0. Right? I can't be 0 because 0 means I'm not born. Right? Well, let's make it greater than or equal to 0.
What if you're 11 once,
Yeah, greater than or equal to 0. It's fine. So I'll start. Let's try this out. I'm 1. You're so young. Oh yeah, the world's your oyster. Right? Because all those things are cool. So I have this fires because I'm 1. This is true. I'm less than 10. This is true. I'm less than 30. This is true. All these 3 things are true. So all these 3 statements fire. The code block. This code block goes, this big one, because I'm greater than or equal to 0. This one goes because I'm less than 10. So I do these 2 statements. And I'm less than 30, so this one fires. But these ones do not, because I'm not greater than or equal to 30. I'm less than that. Okay, let's try another example. For my age, all right, my age is 11. The world is your oyster. Okay, that's the only one that fires. Why? This is true. It's greater than or equal to 0. This is not true because I'm more than 10, right? And this is not true, or this is true because I'm less than 30. So the only way this would be true is what? How old would I have to be for this to be true? 9 or under, right? Because I'm testing an age, which is an integer, it would have to be the whole number 9 or under. 9.5 wouldn't work because I can't put 9.5. I can't test 9.5 because my age is an integer. If I wanted to test a number that was less than a decimal, I would have to make my integer a float, double, or decimal.
What if you look negative?
Sure, let's try -1. -1, it'll be an error because that's how we've tested. -1. Error, incorrect input. And of course, if I put some other weird value, like an A or something like that, it's going to error out. If I put A, it's going to cause us to have an error, right? Because we can't check for a value of A, right? Makes sense?
How do you stop from crashing the
That's later on. We'll cover that later. I don't want you to think about that right now. Think about perfect input. Right now, imagine your user is always perfect. They're never making a mistake. They're always entering perfect input. You want to focus on that. Don't focus on trying to fix it yet. There's a little bit of work we need to do to fix it. This makes sense. It's conditional statements. If, else captures everything else, right? Else is always true. If this is false, and I combine it with an else, the else always triggers, right? This only triggers, this code block here, only triggers if this condition in here is true. That's the only time it'll trigger and will fire all those statements off, right? But this always triggers, this else always triggers if this statement is false. It'll always do this every single time because there's not an else if. Else if is a series of conditional statements that can fire in a row, but only one of them can be true. If, else if, else if, else if, and then with a final default statement of else. Okay? We've covered the nested ifs. One if can be nested within another one to create a more complex condition. For example, this is an example here. If my number is greater than low, low is a constant, which is 5. High is a constant, which is 10, right? If my number is greater than low, okay, now check, is my number less than high? So it's greater than low and less than high. There's your range, right? That's how you can do a range. Greater than low, less than high. This is true. By the way, I don't like this. What am I missing here? The brackets, man. Put those goddamn curly braces in here. Don't make yourself a mistake. You leave these brackets out, you know what's going to happen? Some bad thing's going to befall you. It's not bad. It's not going to happen. It's not going to be good what's going to happen. You're going to think it's going to work this way. You're going to get a logic error instead of a syntax error because it'll work this way, but it's wrong. Don't write this way. This is bad practice. Okay? I will deduct marks if I see it written this way to make a point. Because one day you're going to write code and you're going to give it to somebody else and they're going to take it and the code is going to explode. If else, what it does is it says, it's true, do this, else, do this. That's what if else does. And the else always triggers if this isn't true, this condition. Okay, the else always triggers. Okay, otherwise, right, here's what it's going to do. This is what the code looks like. If number is high, then do this, else, do this. Okay, and this is what it looks like in code. We saw this already. Again, this is bad. Please, after the if, don't use this as an example. Put curly braces after your if statements. Please, please, please.
Who's the one who wrote these examples?
Well, this is right from the book, right? But maybe they're doing it to save space. But this is actually, it's a working example. It'll work, but I don't agree with it. And I can disagree with it. And you would disagree with it if you think about it carefully. Because it makes it so that if I want to add something else in here,
Makes sense.
right, I have to add curly braces, I got to insert stuff, and I can make errors because I can make typing errors. If I write it right the first time, you're going to have less problems later, right? That's if. Okay, now I want to combine stuff, and I can use some interesting operators. I can use and, the AND operator, the double ampersand, to combine two things. It's actually called a short circuit evaluation. Why? Because both the conditions have to be true in order for the whole condition to be true. When I do an AND, it's a logical operator. I have to make first condition has to be true and the second condition has to be true in order for me to, for the whole condition to be true. Okay? The other way is, here's an example of this, all right? If X is true and Y is true, and I'm saying if X and Y is true, right? then both are true. Both have to be true for it to be true, right? If X is true but Y is false, then X and Y is false, because both conditions, X and Y, have to be true in order for this whole statement to be true. Same thing goes with X is equal to false, this first condition, and the second condition, Y, is equal to true. Still false for this thing, right? And of course, if both are false, it's also false. So most of the time it's false, except when both conditions are true, which means that if I have a condition that says if age, right, if age is greater than 0 and double ampersand sign, age is less than 10, right? Both those conditions have to be true for the whole statement to be true. Greater than 0, right, means it's going to be 1 or higher, and less than 10, 9. So 1 to 9 is what I'm specifying. That's my range. Then the whole condition is true. If I'm 10, the whole condition is false. If I'm 0, the whole condition is false. Let's look at that. So I'm writing these statements here, and now what I want to write is a compound statement where I write if I'm greater than or equal to 0, age is greater than or equal to 0, and here's my AND operator, right? Age is less than or equal to 10. I use less than or equal to for a reason. Okay, this is cool. I'm getting an error. Why am I getting an error? Because I need to surround both of these statements with parentheses like this. This is the correct way to write this. Why? Because this is one condition, and then you're comparing it, you're combining it with another condition. Both conditions have to be true in order for this whole big condition to be true. Compound statement. Do you see that? Okay. Yes. Oh yeah. I commit. Yeah. But it's going to change in a second. So conditional statements 101. I'm going to say. And I'm going to go into home, unsync commits, sync. Okay, go. You got it now. So what I mean by this is, right, this first condition, it's a range between 0 and 10, including 0 and including 10, because I'm saying greater than or equal to 0 and less than or equal to 10. So both conditions, less than or equal to, are correct. So from 0 to 10. If that's true, then I can make this whole thing go, right? I can say that if it's less than 10 and greater than 0, then this condition here is true, right? Which is what I want to say. Let's check this out. Watch. I'm going to restructure this whole thing now, right? This is true. Okay, cool. I'm going to take this little code block away, put it over here, right? So this is the first piece. If age is greater than or equal to 0 and less than or equal to 10, then this is true, right? Okay, here's the next else if now. I'm going to do a series of else ifs now. Else if, right? Age is greater than 10, right? That's one condition. And this is how I would write it. Age is less than 20, less than or equal to 20, right? That's not good because I have the and. I need to put brackets around everything. So now I've got an age between 11 and 20. Okay, inside here, console.writeLine, right? Exciting age, right? It's a really cool age to be greater than 10, 11, less than 20. You're good, man. You're still strong. You know, this is true. Okay, and you know what? Else if, here's a series of else ifs. Age is greater than 20, so I'm 21 or older, and, right, age is less than or equal to 30, right? Well, you know what? I'm less than 30, so I like this, the world is your oyster, right? Just forming up my statements here. Okay, and I can get rid of all this, because I don't need all that stuff. Look how it's nicely forming. You can see the ranges here, right? Else if age is greater than actually, we'll just make an else. How about that? Else, if age is greater than or equal to 30, or sorry, greater than 30. Sorry, I did this right. And age is less than or equal to 40. That's a new range. We didn't specify before, right? So less than 40, greater than 30. You know what? You're not as pretty anymore, right? That's that statement. There we go. Take this one out. Now it's a different way of doing things, right? Because you've got a bunch of different ages here. And hold on a second now. Now, else if age is greater than 40, right? So age is greater than 40. This is cool. I can do one single condition here. Is this, right? Okay, and then I can put my else, because the else will still apply. Why? Because if none of these meet, right? So for example, if I'm a negative number, this will still fire. This will still trigger, right? But here's the range. So if I'm a 5, this is the range I fall into. If I'm a 20, I fall into this range. If I'm a 30, I fall into this range. If I'm a 41, I fall into this range. If I'm a 38, I fall into this range. So different ranges will capture it, and I've created 2 conditions to say the lower end and the higher end, right? Let's try it out. So my age is 11, exciting age, because 11 to 20 is that exciting age, right? All right, let's try it again. My age is 31. You're not as pretty, right? Good, good, good. My age is 9. You're so young. Oh yeah, right? See? And now, of course, the negative condition, where it doesn't make any sense, right? It'll accept that because 0, 1 is like a 1, right? What if I do -1? Error, incorrect input. Because you can't be negative.
This thing all started with 30 and older. Now it's like going up into like 30.
Well, I'm good. I'm trying to show you that this is a way of doing it. There's a way of I'll make a commit now to fix it up. So, updated age ranges. So you can see this one, commit. And I go into unsync commits and press sync. All right. So this gives you the basis to do any one of the things that I've asked you to do for assignment 2. Pretty much. If you look at this. Let's take a look at assignment 2 now before we end off so you understand what I want you to do with it. Okay, so I can continue this with this one. And by the way, just as a continuation, one more thing I should probably mention. ANDs are pretty cool. OR is the other way of doing it, and you need to use the double pipe. So there's AND and there's OR. For OR, either one or the other condition can be true, and then both are true. This is good if you want to say, well, either one is okay. If if either this one or this one, then both are true. And you know what? It's true for 3 out of 4 times. Take a look. If X is true, this first condition, and Y is true, well, it's true. If X is true or Y is true, well, then it's true. If X is false or Y is true, well, then it's true. The only time it's false is when both are false. Both conditions have to be false for it to be false. Okay? We're not going to talk about logical AND and OR operators combined because it's like you can combine both, right? You can do a very complex statement like this. Take a look. If age is less than or equal to child age, or age is greater than or equal to senior age, and rating is equal to G, well, then I can watch the movie, kind of thing. So this is actually a really good example for discounting movies. You can combine ORs and ANDs to create a complex or compound conditional statement. Let's look at that right away. So if age is greater than 10 and age is less than 20, right? And maybe I want to add something else where, you know what? I'm going to set up I like the rating system. So I'm watching a movie, right? And I'll say string rating, right? I'll call it movie rating. Movie rating, right, is equal to G, right? Right. If movie rating is equal to G, right? Then you know what? If my age is between less than 10, let's say, and my rating is less than G, only then is I'm so young, right? Either one, actually, either one or the other. If my movie rating I'm watching is G, then you know I'm so young anyway. I can do that. It's kind of weird, but I can do that. Say double pipe, right? My rating, movie rating, right, is equal to G. Right? Now the problem is the double pipe is because every condition, I have to put other brackets around the condition again to make it all true. So now it's much more complicated looking, but what you have to read it is like this. If age is greater than 0, this is the first condition, and age is less than 10, that's the first condition, or movie rating is equal to G, then this is going to fire. Well, guess what? This is always going to fire now because I've set my movie rating to G. Regardless, it won't pass this piece. It won't go to these ones, even if my age is 40. Watch. So I say my age is 40. Doesn't matter, I'm so young. Because my rating is G, right? I can say anything I want, right? I can go, I'll run it again, and I can say -1. Oh, I'm so young. Doesn't matter. Why? Because my rating is G, right? Now if I change this to R, right, and I run it, then if I do the -1, I'll get the same error as input. And everything else will work because my rating is not G. Right? Oh, 45. What happened to 45? Greater than 40. How come? Oh, there's no statement in there. That ain't good. Oh, you're getting old, Tom. That's why I forgot. You're getting old. I'm really getting old. That's why I forgot that statement. 45. Come on. Getting old. So this works. The reason why this worked, this is almost like a way of breaking out. I call this kind of a compound statement where you have a couple of AND statements. So this condition can be true, but if this condition is false, but this little condition is true, both are true. Once I put that double pipe in there, that means either one condition or the other one. That's what they're called. This 2 lines here is a double pipe. Double pipe. If I put a double pipe in there, it means it's an OR. Either one condition or the other can be true, and both are true. Okay. So I've done this piece, combining them. I'm not going to cover the switch statement yet because I'm going to cover it next week. So we stopped at around slide 27. We got another 20 slides to go through. Next week.
We're flying through this.
Yeah. Next week, I was planning to have your test, right? I'm going to wait, push it off a little more because you guys don't have a lot of time. But next week, I'm going to give you this assignment to do. Let's look at this assignment. Okay? You're flying through, but you're not flying through. You're behind.
So you're not giving the assignment?
I'm giving you your assignment right now, but I'm not going to give you your test. Next week was supposed to be your test. I'm going to hold off.
So next week, Friday, assignment 2 is due?
Yes. Here's your assignment 2. It's very similar to assignment 1. Let's do 13th. Friday the 13th at midnight, right? Your first assignment, by the way, is due this Friday at midnight, okay? So again, here's your 5 different things here that I'm asking you to do. It's like 5 again, right?
It's more percentage.
Same, 5%. Okay, so write a console-based program that accepts a user's message and determines whether it is short enough for a social networking service that does not accept messages of more than 140 characters. Well, remember, we can use the string.length method to check how big the message is. So if I enter a read line and I say prompt.length, I can check my prompt.length, and it just tells you right there, message.length. That's the hint, right? If message.length is less than or equal to 140, that's the key line that I'm giving you here, well then you're good to go. Otherwise, well, I won't accept it. That's how we do that one, okay? Here's the second one. Write a console-based program for a college's admission office. The user enters a numeric high school grade point average. So example 3.2. What's your GPA? 3.2. That's what I'm entering. And then admission test score, okay, 60. Display the message except if the student meets either of the following requirements. Either means or, double pipe, either one or the other. A grade point average of 3 or double pipe, a higher or higher, and an admissions test score of at least 60. So I've got a 3 or my mission test score is 60. The condition is true, right? I'm in. Here's the next one. My grade point average is less than 3, but my admission test score is 80, right? Either one or the other. I'm less than 3 or greater than 80. I'm good to go, right? If the student does not meet either one of these qualification criteria, I reject him. Else, you're rejected, right? That's how it works for this one. 3. Write a console-based program that prompts the user for an hourly pay rate and hours worked. What's your hourly pay rate? $10 an hour, right? How many hours did you work? 40 hours, right? Compute the gross pay. Hourly pay rate, I convert it from string to integer or string to double, $10.00, right? Hourly pay rate times pay rate, right, is my gross pay. My gross pay. So my hours worked, 40 hours, 40.0 hours times my pay, $10 an hour is $400, right? Let's just say. Withholding tax and net pay, right? Gross pay minus withholding tax. Okay, that's what my net pay is. Gross pay minus withholding tax. And I calculate my withholding tax by going like this. Up to and including 300 bucks, 10% withholding tax. More than 300 bucks, 12% withholding tax. How do I do that? Well, I can say this. If gross pay is greater than or equal to 300 or less than or equal to 300, 10% is your holding tax. So your holding tax would be 0.10, right? Otherwise, if it's more than 300, greater than 300, right? 12%, 0.12 is your withholding tax. And then I calculate my gross pay by saying take my net pay, by taking my gross pay, which is let's say $400, times the withholding tax, and that's my net pay. And then I say my withholding tax is computed as a percentage of gross pay. And I print all that out. That's number 3. It's just some complicated, it's a little, not even complicated, it's a little bit of math. If you follow the steps, you're going to be fine. 4, write a console-based program of lawn mowing service. The lawn mowing season lasts 20 weeks. Okay? The weekly fee for mowing a lawn under 400 square feet is 25 bucks every week. The fee for a lot that is 400 square feet or more, but under 600 square feet, so greater than 400, less than 600, that's your if statement, right, is $35 per week. Okay? So you're getting a rate. What's the cutting rate? The weekly fee, right? The fee for a lot that is 600 square feet or more is $50 a week, right? So first you calculate how much it costs for the lot, right? Prompt the user for the length and width of the lawn. Okay, what's my length and width? My length is 30, my width is 20, right? And what's my area, right? My area in square feet is 20 times 30, right? 600. Well, guess what? Now I'm paying $50 per week, right? And then for 20 weeks, so I multiply it by 20. That's my total fee. That's number 4. Some simple calculations. Read the thing, and cut it back. Look at the criteria, and go through it one by one to make sense of it. All right. Here's the next piece. Number 5. This is more complicated. Add things to the lawn application up here. Right. These are, by the way, there's 5 applications I want for assignment number 1. 5 little pieces. Right. I don't want you to do it all in one. 5 pieces. Part 1, part 2, part 3, part 4. Call them whatever you want, but there may be 5 little zip files that you're going to zip up and send and give and kind of upload to Dropbox. Do you guys know how to make zip files? Compress them. You have to right click, compress it to zip, right? And then when you choose Dropbox, choose the zip file, and make sure that when you zip stuff up, you don't just zip your program.cs file, right? You zip it all, right? You zip your program.cs file, your solution, the whole folder. And how do you get to that folder? This is how. If I want to zip up my entire folder, I go to my Solution Explorer, I right-click on the solution up here, right? Right-click. And what does it say? Open folder in File Explorer. Boom. This is where everything is. This is for my entire solution. I want to go up a level. I don't want to stay here. I want to go one up. This is called COMP100 Lesson 5 Part 2. I want the whole thing. I want to go to Lesson 5 Part 2, this one. And I want to right-click, go to 7-zip, and go compress, right? Add to the thing. Or I can simply compress it. I can use the compression piece that's built into Windows 8 or Windows 7. For you guys, you might have 7-zip on your systems there. And if you do, you can do that. Or you can go to send to compressed zipped folder. That's the way you do it. Watch the video if you forget. Okay? So 7-zip or send to compressed folder. And once you've done that, take whatever is the result of that and give me that on Dropbox. Okay, that's what you want to do. Okay, so this is a more complicated one before we leave, right? The lawn application you created above, add a prompt that asks the user whether the customer wants to pay 1, once, 2, twice, 3, 20 times per season. How many times does he want to pay? If he only says 1 time per season, he gets a discount. 2 times per season, he has to pay a little bit more. 20 times per season, he's going to pay a lot more. $3 extra, a fee of $3 extra every week. Right? If it looks complex, don't worry about it. We'll break it out next week. Okay? No problem. And that's it for me. Please try and do some of this before we get together next week so we can talk about it, so I can help you with it. If I don't see it done, I can't help you with it.